Hello friends, Dr. Nels here, coming to you this week with information on Be the Idiot. Hello friends, Dr. Nels here, coming back to you with information on life, leadership, and business, building your values and principles so that you can be the best version of you. And our intro is talking about Be the Idiot. And you may be wondering, what in the world is he talking about? And what I'm talking about is be the person in the room to ask the question that everybody really wants to ask, but nobody wants to be brave enough to speak up and ask it for fear of maybe looking stupid or not looking smart enough, or for whatever the fear may be. And so as you think about that, I want you to think about it in your daily walk. But my story behind it is I would say it was probably in about 2009 when I got put on a bank board, and I was the youngest board member in the room, sitting there around a table with a bunch of smart folks and people that have been wildly successful in their life, talking about different aspects of the business. And you can maybe somewhat imagine all the conversations that we had, but a lot of very awesome, incredible conversations. And I didn't know a lot. I knew enough to be dangerous, but there were a lot of things that were being discussed that I really didn't have a clue about. And I've also studied this to a certain degree by some of the thought leaders and leadership development folks. And what I've learned is you can be in a room with people that you believe are very successful, very smart, highly intelligent people, and you can ask a question and you would probably be dumbfounded at how often when you ask the question that those people you have great respect for and they're smart, they're intelligent, very successful, you'd be wildly surprised and astounded at how many times, heck, they didn't know the answer. And in that process, what happens is everyone gets to learn. Now, obviously, you probably need to think about it a little bit in every different situation, but the reality is also, if you don't know the answer, you need to ask, because you need to know the answer for you to be the best person you can be. For you, if you're sitting at a board table trying to give valuable input, if you don't know the answer to what they're talking about, or you don't know what they're talking about, you need to educate yourself so you do know, so you can be the best board member for that team of people. And so whatever the scenario is, you could be sitting in an audience with your team, you could be in any scenario. If you don't know the answer, ask the question. Yes, Kale?
Is there a time and place where it's better to ask the question in a one-on-one conversation rather than in front of the entire board or team, or vice versa, where it needs to be addressed in front of the board versus just with the leader?
That's a big question. I prefer, for transparency's sake, accountability's sake, for knowledge for everyone, I prefer to get things out in the open when I'm in a group setting. I think that's healthy for everyone. I really don't like one-on-one conversations. I really don't like one-off conversations. I do believe maybe sometimes if it has to do with something somewhat more personal, then maybe it's not a question to be posed in front of a group of people. At the same time, if it's business, sometimes personal things come up in personnel situations that everyone needs to know the personal situation. But also there's other sides of that. If sometimes one-on-one conversations need to happen if you don't trust everyone at the table. And that can happen too. But in general terms, I still prefer questions to be asked however they need to be asked. And in general meetings, general, gatherings of people, we need to be brave enough, courageous enough to ask the question if we don't know. We're fearful of looking stupid. We're fearful of wasting people's time. We're fearful that if that leader you're asking the question to will sometimes bash people for asking questions. And if that's the case, then I would have a one-on-one meeting with that leader afterwards, letting them know that, hey, I'm here to simply make this organization, this setting better, but you bashing me for asking a question is a very poor example of leadership. And I've seen that happen too, where people become afraid to ask anything for fear of what the leader may say or do in response to that. And if that's the case, I would figure out an exit plan, whatever that scenario is. Now, if that's a scenario for you today, don't just up and leave. Get a plan, do your homework, figure out something, whatever the exit needs to happen in. But sorry about that. We kind of got sidetracked. You asked a fairly deeper question with multiple answers. But in general, don't be afraid to ask the question. You'll help those around you 9 times out of 10. The one or more person in the room didn't know the answer either. And so look to be the idiot. Look to be the dumb one. I'm happy to do it. For those that know me know I'm happy to be the dumb one and ask the dumb question because I need help. I'm not that smart and I would like to know. And so I apologize. And you can, there's ways to ask the question, and you can simply say that, hey, this may be a dumb question, but I hope you sure appreciate me asking and ask your question. There's ways to set the tone of it rather than just blurting out. There's appropriate times, don't interrupt, etc. All of those scenarios. But don't be afraid to ask the question. Ask it appropriately, ask it professionally, set the tone, do it at the right time. And I believe if you do that, you will help educate the room. Because my experience is, again, 9 times out of 10, 1 or more people in that audience are wondering the very same thing. So if you do that, I promise you it will help you, and not only you, but those in the room. And I'll also promise you at some point, someone after the meeting or during the meeting will say, that's a good question. I didn't really know myself. Very common. So we hope to help you today by not being the idiot. We look forward to next week. If you like this content, click subscribe here, and we'll see you next week. Cheers, friends.